Hello everyone, welcome back to the kitchen table. Today on the kitchen table we're going to do part 2 of my look at the Yuneec Q500, the Typhoon, and get an actual flight test, which is going to be a bit awesome. So before we get into that though, it's the kitchen table. Tradition dictates that we have a beverage, of course, and today we are on the home roasted Guatemalan coffee in the official supporter mug. So cheers. Oh, very nice too. So, you'll remember from part 1 we went to see UA Vision, the country's sort of newest unique authorised dealer, and also they were experimenting with some bricks and mortar, moving drones from the internet as a sort of specialist thing maybe onto the high street, and that was pretty interesting. A lot of you commented on the pigeon gag, thank you very much. It's amazing what you can find in the depths of your video editing software if you really look hard enough. So for a follow-up to that, obviously it rained that day. I'd sort of booked the time and went to see Rog in Wiltshire, and it just poured down. We couldn't do any flight testing. But another week, a different story. Really nice day. It's the half-term holiday, so Roger and his son came and joined me and my kids, not too far away from here, one of my usual flying spots. He brought the Typhoon and a couple of batteries, and we had a go. So without further ado, let's go and have a look at the flight test. So here we are, about to fly the Yuneec Typhoon Q500. This is the 4K, and looking at this quite complicated looking transmitter, which is remarkably light. And we're going to fire it up and just basically do a very sort of simple hands-on how does it fly. So first of all, I noticed there's a big red button marked start stop. So let's hit that and see what happens. Oh, low revs. All right, let's give it some. All right, let's hold it there for a bit of a hover. Right, first thing is, this thing is very quiet and very low pitched compared to the Phantoms, and even compared to the Inspire actually. It's those big chunky props revolving relatively slowly. We've got a bit of a wind here, and it's you know, it's going to catch it because of the size. But it's doing a reasonable job, and the gimbal's looking good. So let's give it a fly around. So this is not a speed machine. No. It's you know, it's plodding along at a sensible rate of knots, but then again, you know, like all of these ready-to-fly camera platforms, you're not buying a racing drone. That's not the kind of point of it. The one thing I would just say is you're going to have to watch your maximum wind speeds, because I think penetration into the wind is going to be difficult. Okay, the beeping you can hear is the centered. It's the throttle, which is quite nice, because although it's spring-loaded, it's quite nice to have that little backup sound that tells me that it is knowing that the center is the center, and it will beep if you wander off it. Let's try some pirouettes. It's quite a stiff breeze today. You can see it's pirouetting on the spot very nicely. It is kind of it's rocking and rolling as it tries to cope with the wind. But this is quite challenging conditions, and it's holding station over the ground really, really well. I'll just leave it and hover, pointing at us. Now that different tone of beep is the camera tilt. So you know when you've got the camera tilt lever centered without having to get, again, there's no detent, but instead of having to take your eyes off it, it will just beep. So let's bring it down a little. Let's have a look at some climb performance. And 3, 2, 1, full welly. Quite pedestrian, but very straight, and I'm quite impressed. The wind is, I would say, we're pushing up into the high teens of gusts, and it is rocking and rolling. Let's bring it down now. Actually, do you know what? That's really steady. Even though it's going down into its own wash, it's not rocking and rolling like the Inspire does, certainly not like the Phantom does. That's holding its position over the ground really, really well. It's, yeah. That's quite impressively stable on the descent and the climb out.
The motors have active braking as well.
I'm assuming that you can change the aggressiveness factor and things like that. We're just flying it completely out the box, aren't we? This is the setup that you'd get if you'd literally bought it and flown it for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's some active braking. Yeah, it's not as aggressive as the active braking out of the box for the Phantom 3. But again, it's a camera platform, so I find the Phantom 3 default braking a little bit aggressive. I've kind of calmed it down. But again, it depends what your use is. I really like the way that descends. It's a very comforting, kind of easy, smooth descent. One thing I will say is the screen, I mean, we've got quite low, kind of, it's late morning, autumn. The sun is quite low in the sky. If I pan it round, you'll see where it is. There it is, look, that big white blob thing there. And I'm just sort of shielding the screen on the transmitter with my head, effectively, is in the shadow. And I was a bit concerned that you wouldn't be able to see that. There is a shade that comes with it. It's not attached, but do you know what? In the shade of your own head, you can see perfectly well enough, and it's nice colours. Really nice bright blues and greens. 19 sats. And we've got the arrow that always shows us where home is on the screen. So I know at the moment, if I lose orientation of where it is, the green arrow is pointing down towards my chest and it says home. So I know that if I come in that, in that direction, it also shows me which direction the aircraft is pointing in. So that's quite a nice touch. Let's bring it up and around. The transmitter is really light. I'm not using a harness with it, and it is really no weight at all. Surprisingly light. Now, one of the things, I've got it just facing away from me, not very far away. We're in a sort of a milky overcast, so I can see the aircraft really well. It's contrasted nicely. It's quite a big presence. There's a big black blob that I can see. But one thing, the LEDs on it are fairly dim in this kind of light. I can see the red ones and the battery light there, okay. If I turn it around the other way, then the sort of front LEDs do kind of just disappear. So I think that's one thing, that if you're used to seeing really bright LEDs, then this Yuneec, it's not so bright. If you actually take it up a bit of height, there you go, now they're better. So they've actually angled these to give you a more of a view of the LEDs from the looking up. That's better. Now I can see that sort of, it's now above me against the sky. Those LEDs are much brighter. Send it down that way. But yeah, big presence against the sky compared to a Phantom, especially in this sort of, like I say, it's like milky kind of overcast day. You could see this thing against the sky for quite some distance. Orientation is a bit difficult for me right now. I would sort of have slight difficulty. You can just about see the camera ball, so I can just about see it's facing away from me and to the right. But it's one of those things where I think I'd have to get used to the angle of it, because the landing, the undercarriage is kind of angled slightly forwards, isn't it? The landing legs are angled slightly forwards. So if you can sort of get used to that, you'll see that you can follow the angle, which means the nose. So I've got that now. So now I've pushed forwards, knowing that it would go from my right to my left. So. Okay, let's try a bit of, let's just try the braking and see how that goes. Bring it towards, is it upwind? Yeah, there goes the active braking. Yeah, I would just say, I don't know what the manual says about the max wind, but I would certainly not want to be operating this one upwind, sorry, operating this one downwind if I'm running out of battery. Now, one of the things that happens, one of the safety features that's by default, you can change the parameters, but one of the safety features that happens by default is on first battery warning, it will not allow you to exceed, I think, 60 feet, that's 20 correct. Meters in height. So if you're higher than that, will bring you down. Does it also bring you in to a certain radius?
No.
Or? So it will keep you low. So I guess that's to make sure that any kind of auto landing isn't too far, but it gives you a visual clue that you're going down. So that's something to bear in mind. But as a camera platform, it's handling this wind really well. For a big aircraft, and I can't believe how quiet it is. If you wanted to use this as a sort of a pro filming sort of aircraft, and do, like, I don't know, do group shots for weddings or whatever. I mean, we've got it now. How far away is it from me? It is 95 feet away horizontally, and it's 25 feet up. And it's really, I mean, I can hear a power tool somewhere over in the distance that's way louder than that. This is a really quiet aircraft. I find this, I'm currently finding I'm giving it altitude when I'm giving it some left stick. I'm actually finding that the springs are quite soft compared to what I'm used to. Well, you know, it's one of those things, you get used to it, isn't it? But I'm assuming again that in the software we can change the expo, or we can change the damper settings. So that's pretty good. Let's just have it's going to take bad video because I'm facing this into the sunlight, but I'm just watching it. It's really quite actively stabilizing, isn't it? You can see it's working hard. We're below a hedge line, so there's an element of turbulence here. There's probably a bit of rotor coming over the hedge, and it's doing well. I think those big props help. I'm quite impressed with that. I would have thought from the size of it, it would have been perhaps more affected by the wind. We've still got loads of battery left. Let's see where this... We have a pedestrian coming, so we'll make sure we're more than 50 metres away. Because we like to do things proper, don't we, Rog?
We do. Safety first.
Safety first, accident and emergency second. Oh, aircraft voltage low, maximum descent, there we go. So aircraft maximum height decreased to 60. Well, we're not at 60. And you get a vibration through the transmitter. You get a bit of a little haptic feedback. So there's no beeps to like not listen to if you can't hear it because of the wind or whatever. So I like that. I'm really a fan of this sort of haptic feedback. So we'll bring it back in for a landing, I think. Let's see how it lands. Now this is going to be tricky. It's going to be my first time landing it, and it's a bit crosswindy and turbulent. Let's get it down. Where's a flat bit? Oh, didn't want to go down. It does not want to descend. Now it will. Has it got a
You're used to the Phantom. You just stopped it.
Oh yeah. I did a Phantom. I was holding the throttle down and it wasn't stopping, and then I realised it's because there's a big red stop button here. Cool. So we've just come down, finding a bit of shade. It's actually, the screen's pretty good, but the camera is picking up lots of reflections. But you can see nice bright green and blues and so on, but it's actually touch sensitive. So if I double tap, you lose all your telemetry. You can just focus on a big, clear, wide shot for framing, which is nice. Double tap again, you get your telemetries.
and everything is up on here. Time of, it's even got the current time, the volts, altitude, ground speed, distance. You've got flight settings, system settings. You've even got your position in degrees, how many sats the aircraft is seeing, GPS is ready, and what mode you're in. And you've got, again, various telltales about the connection strength, your satellites. You've got the big, slightly protected start-stop button, and then you've got your single-shot camera shutter and your video modes. On the side here, we've got tortoise and hare, so you can actually set it to be very, very slow to respond. If you want to catch, you know, particularly smooth stuff. And then on this side, you've got there, that's your tilt for your gimbal. And yeah, it's remarkably light. I'm really surprised. I'm holding this in one hand, and it's not, you know, it's not too heavy at all. So that's quite impressive. Vibrating feedback as I'm touching things, it's also going to vibrate through. And this is basically an Android tablet, the guts of an Android tablet inside, doing its own thing. Very nice.
So we brought the Phantom 3 out, and I dusted that one off, and we decided to do some comparison shots. So here are both of them, same time, same conditions, standard out-the-box settings, doing a pirouette for you. You can see the slight difference in the default color. This hasn't been processed by my editing software at all. I've just left it as completely default. Obviously you could tweak it in post-production, but just to give you an idea. And yeah, this is the Typhoon from above. Just thought we'd do that. Why not? Again, there you go. I mean, it's slightly different directions. One's got the sun more in shot at the moment than the other, but you can just see a bit of a laugh what they're both capturing there. And the Phantom's doing more of the moving. But yeah, you can see how that wind, it's quite severe wind, and I think it coped very well, that Typhoon, the gusts. It was having to sort of work hard to hold position. And then it was half term, so we got the kids involved. So we had my son Tom flying the Phantom 3, and you know, he was doing very, very well at that. And Roger's son was having a go on the Typhoon as well. So it just goes to show that, you know, they are pretty easy to fly, and we had a great time. There we go. So I really enjoyed that. Thanks again to Roger and his son, and for my kids for not being too bored by all the filming. That was really good. I was able to get quite a good hands-on appreciation of the aircraft. Some initial comments. I made several comments in the film about it's quite slow and sedate. Roger lets me know that there's been a recent firmware update which has boosted the maximum speed available. So now on that sort of speed selector, I do like the fact there's a physical speed selector on the transmitter. You can instantly, without fiddling, just go, right, I want to go everything really nice and slow, and then, you know, boost it up again. So that's been changed. Although, again, as I said in the film, if you're buying this as a video platform, an aerial photography platform, it's not a racing drone. Are you going to be that bothered about speed? If you are, then maybe this isn't the thing for you. Impressive factors, I thought the stability was very good. The quietness of it in comparison to one of these was very, very noticeable. I thought that the transmitter with the haptic feedback and the built-in screen just worked nicely, very light. I didn't even use a strap, but it didn't feel I needed to. And that kind of quick glance down to see the screen, I soon got used to that. Rather than glancing at the top of your transmitter, you're looking at the bottom. That was all very strong. It's a real value for money package, isn't it? If you compare with what you're getting at the other end of the scale, with say the Phantom, you get, you know, the hard case comes with it as part of the price. 2 batteries come with it as part of the price. You also get the sort of handheld gimbal for the camera, like the DJI Osmo. That comes included as part of the price. Now, one of the things that I've got someone who's got an Osmo on order, who's kindly said that they'll give me a lend of that to have a play with. I'm also hoping to do a comparison, side-by-side comparison with the Yuneec version as well, so you can see how those both work as handhelds. You know, the transmitter with haptic feedback, built-in screen, no need to use a separate app, no need to remember another device. It's quite an attractive package, isn't it? I think the pricing is really good too. I hear really good things about being able to get support and spares from the dealer network. And that's not just what UA Vision have told me. I've heard from other people saying, you know, you ring up, I need some spare props, and within 2 days they're being sent out, and that the dealers charge the same price. You know, the dealer price is the same price as, you know, you get it from Yuneec. Nobody's getting stitched up or anything like that. And as a camera platform, I think it's a really, really strong contender. Now, obviously, I wasn't able to live with it long term, so I can't give a yes, I've sort of sorted out all the wrinkles. But I must say, if you are not interested in the DJI platform for whatever reason, and you're looking in the market for a 4K aerial filming platform, which does kind of everything that you need it to do, this has got to be a real option to look closely into. So there we go. Big thanks again to Roger at UA Vision for bringing that up. If you want to go and see, if you're in the UK and you want to have a closer look, I can. They've really, I know they gave me some stuff to play with and brought it along, everything else. So, but genuinely, really, Roger, really nice guy, easy to deal with. And I've heard since the last video went up from other people who've actually dealt with UA Vision on a business sort of basis, and have all been sort of saying some great things. You can see those in the comments from other people. So definitely worth going and visiting uavision.co.uk if you're interested in looking more at the package deals on the Typhoon, and giving Roger a call, and he'll talk you through it. It's made me think. You know, if I was starting again and was looking at getting into this with an aerial platform, it's made me think. And with that, on that bombshell, to quote a famous phrase, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, as ever. Thank you for your views and your subscriptions and everything else. A big thanks to those who support the channel financially. That really helps me do all this kind of stuff. So great thanks as usual to the channel patrons, to people who buy the supporter mugs, and who make donations through PayPal. Another great way of helping, which doesn't cost anybody anything extra, is if you're going to do some Christmas shopping on Amazon in the US or in the UK this year, if you want to click on one of those affiliate links down in the description before you do your shopping, it won't cost you any more, and Amazon throw me a few pennies for everything you buy on there. So that's a great way of helping out without actually sort of dipping into your pocket more than you're going to. But irrespective of that, thank you for watching. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you again soon back on the kitchen table. Until then, cheers.